Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We're going to be right back with today's guest, but as always, we're going to give a shout out to our sponsors. Now, don't hit that fast forward button. These are all companies that I used as an athletic director. They're all great companies. I really recommend that you check them out. So take 3 minutes, listen to our shout outs, then listen to our interview, and then go and visit these sponsors if you're not already using them. I'm telling you, you're going to be very glad you did. Here we go. We want to thank our good friends at Huddle for their support. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school, and our coaches just loved the tools that Huddle provided. Our student athletes love the videos, our parents love the streaming, but there's so much more. Join the 8 million users. Turn your school into a Huddle school. We also want to thank our friends at Gipper. Your students are on social media, and if they're not seeing content that celebrates their accomplishments and promotes your program, you're really missing out on a great opportunity. Go to Gipper.com. Their team will have you creating world-class content in seconds, and it's so easy, even I can do it. The website is Gipper.com. Don't forget to mention the podcast, Gipper.com. We also want to thank Hometown Ticketing. Hometown is the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. I don't think I need to say anything more. Go to hometownticketing.com. It's digital ticketing that offers more. We also want to thank Snap Raise. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and then been disappointed in the results? Those days are gone. Go to snapraise.com. It's hands down the best online fundraiser out there. We used it at our school. Our coaches loved it. Parents loved it, and it works. Go to snapraise.com. You can check out their other great platforms, but if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it. Go to snapraise.com. We'd like to thank Vital Signs Wall of Fame. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards for all the teams, for all the events, or show off your school's Hall of Fame, go to Vital Signs Wall of Fame and take a look at their interactive touchscreen video consoles. It's also a great way to share your school's unique history along with your proudest moments. The website is vitalsignswalloffame.com. Check them out today. We also want to thank our friends at Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. You can schedule a live web demo to see their score tables and their score boards in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule that live web demo today. We want to thank our friends at Home Campus. Home Campus is a platform that you're going to use every single day. Things like scheduling, uploading rosters and results, communication, student athlete eligibility and clearance. Who doesn't do that every day? Go to homecampus.com to find out more information. That's it. Homecampus.com. You're going to be very glad you did. We'd also like to thank the Ohio University Online Masters in Athletic Administration. Now, I didn't get my master's from Ohio University, but my assistant athletic director did, along with thousands of others, and it was a great experience. It's affordable, just 20 months, totally online, and while you're completing your master's, Ohio University throws in 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. That's the Ohio University Online Masters. Go to ohio.edu/info/MAA. And we'd like to thank Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. Athletic directors already get feedback, but usually it's from a small group, and all they want to do is complain. Athletic Surveys will connect you to that group, but they're also going to connect you to the 98% that supports your program. And having that data is so important, especially when you're visiting with a frustrated parent or maybe your principal or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. Welcome back, everybody, to another segment of the Educational AD Podcast. We're going all the way up to Minnesota today, and we're going to be visiting with Dr. Kiristen Robinson. Kirsten's a certified athletic administrator, has a tremendous background in athletics, also a successful author. We're going to talk about that. And she's the director of athletics at Edison High School in Minneapolis. I think it's probably one of the older high schools in the state. But we're going to hear all about that. Dr. Robinson, welcome to the Educational AD Podcast.
Hello, hello. Glad to be here.
Well, you and I were talking in Minnesota. It's kind of old school. You don't start classes until after Labor Day, but you already got sports and games going, so it's still a busy time. We always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So give us that quick bio, where you were born, where you grew up. Maybe take us up through your own high school and college days, and then we'll take a break. But what's the Kirsten Robinson origin story?
Okay. I'm going to start back to my parents. They are from Mobile, Alabama. They were high school sweethearts. My dad played for the University of Alabama football. He played under Bear Bryant. My mom also went to Alabama, and then my dad played for the Indianapolis Colts. So he got drafted there, and my sister and I were born there. Then around about when I was 7, we then moved to Georgia. So most of my experience is in Georgia. I played the sports of, played track, I played volleyball, and also played basketball. My main sport was basketball. I went to Stevenson High School in Stone Mountain, Georgia. And my senior year, 2008, we won state. So that was a great experience. They also won a few years prior to me and after as well. So just putting that out there, that Stevenson girls basketball is pretty awesome. So I then played college basketball for 2.5 years at Columbia College in South Carolina. But I transferred after that second year to Georgia Southern University. There, actually, prior to transferring, I did pledge my sorority, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, at Columbia College. That was a great experience, met a lot of people. In that sorority, we do a lot of community service and just helping out and just serving as mentors for individuals within our community. I then transferred to Georgia Southern, finished there. I got my degree in education, elementary education, and started my first year in 2014 as a second grade teacher. That was fun. However, when people kind of ask me about my teaching career, I will say, even when I was student teaching at Georgia Southern, I always would pass the gym and was trying to figure out how I can get kind of in that realm. I needed to graduate, so I was like, let me just finish with elementary education and then figure out how I can get into that gym piece. So I taught for about 6 years. I did finally get into physical education. And then from there, I was able to get into that athletic director realm as well.
We're going to jump into your career in our next segment. I'm going to go all the way back. Now, you mentioned your dad played, professional football. Growing up, were you aware as a little kid, that, hey, that's, my dad did something pretty cool, or, had he already retired? What's your memories of that experience?
That is a good question. I will say when I was younger, and my dad is very humble, I really didn't think anything of it. It's kind of like now that I'm an adult, like we will go back to like for homecoming to Alabama games, and people are wanting his autograph. And I'm like, oh, is he a big deal? Like, I did not know that. My second year teaching second grade, I had a student, he just very bright, very gifted, and he was very much into sports. So my dad came one time to just help out with the career fair. He spoke to my class. He said he played for the Indianapolis Colts, and my student looked him up, and he told me all of his stats. And I'm like, oh, that's good. Like, it's a big deal. I did not know. And he wrote a whole just piece on my father. I actually still have it on my jump drive now. So to answer your question, I really didn't know. It took this in my adulthood kind of really understanding like, oh, okay. He was a big deal, big deal.
Right. No, no, that's very cool. I love it. Um, Looking at your high school experience, you mentioned you were a three-sport athlete. I know basketball was your biggest sport, but um, when you were in high school, and again, athletic directors today, we love promoting multiple sport athletes and multiple sport coaches. When you were in high school, was there ever any kind of tug of war? Was your track coach saying, "Oh, you need to give up basketball," or vice versa? Was there any sort of um, encouragement for you to specialize rather than be a three-sport athlete?
There wasn't that encouragement of that specialization. I Basketball very much was my main sport. And then for volleyball, this was literally my senior year. I was tired of running for basketball. So I'm like, let me just try volleyball so then I won't have to continue running to death. And then track, that was in the springtime. So it kind of added on to basketball, at least with the being in shape piece. But yeah, we weren't kind of pressured to stick to one sport.
Oh, well, and again, that's good to hear. Hopefully the nowadays, the pendulum swinging back a little bit to, for coaches and parents and everybody to encourage that multi-sport experience. Um, I love the little, nugget that you shared. You're, in college, you're walking by the gym and you can hear the activity inside. Were there any other moments, maybe, in high school or college, as a player where at the time it didn't seem like much, but now looking back with experience and perspective and wisdom, you can point to that moment and say, "Hey, that was a significant moment for me." Anything stick out for you?
And regarding to just the athletic director position, I I was told that we had an athletic director in high school. I never met or saw him or her. So I guess just that presence wasn't there. So I didn't think to pursue that type of profession. All I knew was you play the sport or you coach.
Right.
So I would say I can't think of an actual thing. I just know I wanted to be in the sports realm, but I didn't know how to go about doing that. So I know right now, just as an AD, I really make a conscious effort to be present in my position currently. I have a young man now who serves as an intern for the athletic department, and I'm actually looking for two others. So I just want to show, especially being a Black female, that, hey, this is something that you can pursue. Here are ways to go about doing it, because I had no idea. So I just want to share what I now know to those who may be interested in this field.
Oh, absolutely. And I remember 100 years ago when I was in high school, and even in college, our athletic director was the head football coach. And I never thought about being an AD, but I knew I probably wasn't going to make the NFL. I wanted to stay involved in sports. And oh, you mean I can coach? And well, you have to teach. Okay, well, I can teach. So no, absolutely. I can remember those experiences. Let's go and take a quick break. For our listeners, our guest today is Dr. Kiristen Robinson, certified athletic administrator and the director of athletics at Edison High School in Minneapolis, Minnesota. We're coming back with more, so please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to Huddle for their support of the podcast. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school, and our coaches just loved the tools that Huddle provided. Our student athletes loved the videos, and our parents loved the streaming, but there is so much more. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users. Turn your school into a Huddle school. We also want to thank our good friends at Gipper. Your students are on social media, so are a lot of their parents. And if they don't see content that you've created to celebrate their accomplishments and promote your programs, you're missing out on a great opportunity. Go to Gipper.com. Their team will have you creating world-class content on your social media channels in seconds, and it's so easy. Even I can do it. The website is gipper.com. Visit them today. You're going to be very glad you did. Welcome back, everybody. Once again, we're visiting with Dr. Kiristen Robinson, Certified Athletic Administrator and the Director of Athletics for Edison High School in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Kiristen, you shared a little bit about your post-college career, starting out teaching and coaching. I think it's important for our younger listeners, even our older listeners, to hear about the journey that we all take. So, can you share that maybe in a little more detail? What was it like for you just coming out of college? What was your journey like?
Yes, yes. I just think it's just so awesome that everyone's journey is different and beautiful and it's their own and unique. And within that journey, you may not even know like where you're headed. And I will say for sure that I was not. So right out of college, like I said, I taught second grade. This is in 2014. I was in DeKalb County, which is the same county in which I attended school, both elementary and middle school, high school. And it was a fun experience. I just trying to figure out where is my lane, where am I headed, where am I going to, what I want to do. For me, education is major. So I, for sure, my second year teaching, I went ahead and got my master's in curriculum and instruction from Central Michigan University. And I then started in my second year coaching basketball as well at Rockdale County High School, which that just blew my mind because I didn't know if I would be a good coach or not. And this is girls basketball, JV at the time. But I really loved it. I had a knack for it. Everything just kind of came back. I actually went to my high school basketball coach and asked him for our plays because they weren't coming back to me. But he shared with me that information and it was a great experience. So overall, I coached for 5 years, 2 at Rockdale County and then 3 at a smaller Christian school, Atlanta Classical Academy. And this was on the varsity level, but very much a great experience. And career-wise, I, at that time, did not know about what an AD even was, what that looked like. I know there was an AD both at Rockdale and at Atlanta Classical Academy, and I reached out to both of them just to kind of shadow them, just to see like what did the role entail. And I got a few pointers. I was kind of told, just coach varsity and do well, and you'll probably become one. So that I need to know the path, so that I don't know, it didn't really make sense fully. So I'm still just kind of doing my thing. Like I said, getting the education that I need or think I need. And about my 4th year teaching is when I went ahead and started my dissertation program to get my PhD in health and human performance. Wow. And even then, I didn't even know what I was going to do my dissertation on. But as just time progressed, I was able to determine that I wanted to do something involving high school athletic directors. So my title was just all about stress management and mental health among high school athletic directors. And I put in the state of Minnesota because by the time I was doing my dissertation, I was in Minnesota. So I was able to go in, interview athletic directors, kind of get an understanding of what they deal with, some of the things that can be stressful for them, and just help them or have them kind of give me some answers as to what they think would kind of help ease that stress and just give them that balanced life so that they can do their job successfully and also have that good kind of balanced home life as well. So there was that piece, but just overall, I was able to find out that I wanted to be an athletic director just from kind of going through the journey and meeting different people, networking. I was exposed to the NIAAA about 3 years ago. And again, I like to get my education and be informed. So I made sure that I just dove into that and make sure I got my certifications and met people and networked and all of those things. So still on that journey, but I feel like I'm very much now on the path that I need to be on to get to where I want to be and just live in my purpose.
Oh, that is so cool to hear. I do want to jump back. Your PhD project, I wasn't aware. I'm going to guess, maybe hope that there were others, but I mean, yours is the first one that I've really heard about where it was a study of, our profession. That in itself would be tremendous workshop. You need to present that at your state association. You also need to submit to present that at nationals. And as long as we're going down that road, we're going to do this a little bit later. That's a great CMAA project too. So you and I will talk about that later, both on and off camera. Um, I want to go back to you started coaching. You said you went back to your old high school coach, got your plays. We use an expression, I'm going to guess you probably heard it before, about coaches and sometimes about ADs. You don't know what you don't know. Uh, what was something from a coaching standpoint, and then we'll ask about the AD, and what was something that you found out that you didn't know about being a head coach?
I would say just, and these young ladies, they just require a lot from you. And you really have to, I knew I had to be a great example, but at that, and I am and was a great example. I was young too. This is about 24, 25. So it grew me up. So as I'm pouring into them and mentoring them, I'm also ensure I'm growing as well and becoming a better woman through them. So just knowing that I had to for sure be my best self and make sure I'm a good example for them.
Oh, wow, that's fantastic. And I love your turn of phrase as you were pouring into them. I do a program, it's called for ADs and coaches about pour yourself out, pour yourself into others. Great stuff. Um, now, we're going to talk about your Edison experience in our next segment, but as you were becoming an AD, you were an athlete, you were a coach, certainly you are not new to the world of athletics, but when you finally became an AD, coming over to the other side of the desk, what was something that you found out that you didn't know?
Well, just the position in general, it can be kind of lonely, I would say.
Yeah.
I'm kind of the only one. No, I think I can safely say I feel like I'm the only one who has to think the way I have to think and has to make decisions that are best for Edison. And some people may not agree because they're on the outside looking in and aren't really thinking through or don't have to really think through or consider some of the other things that go into why these decisions were made. So I'm very much growing in my leadership style and the way in which I communicate, which I call myself a warm demander. So I just make sure I say the thing, communicate it, do it with a level of respect, and just know that everyone is not going to like the decision.
Oh, imagine that, someone not agreeing with what an athletic director mentioned or a decision they made. Um, you bring up another great point. I don't like it, but I guess there's not a better word. Lonely. The job can be lonely because teachers have other teachers they can go to. Coaches have other coaches they can go to. Typically, there's only one AD in the building, which underlines the importance of things you were talking about. Balance, work-life balance, and also building that network, which we're going to talk about later. But very cool points. Dr. Robinson, we're going to do this at the end of the podcast, but if one of our listeners wanted to reach out, pick your brain a little bit more about how you do things at Edison, or maybe some of your research, or if they just wanted to add you to their network, what's the best way that they can connect with Kiristen Robinson?
The best way to connect with me would be through email. My email is my last name, Robinson. My first name, Kiristen, KIRISTEN, @gmail.com.
Right. And I'm going to guess Kirsten's also in the NIAAA portal for NIAAA members. And I know she's also on LinkedIn because I think that's how we connected. So
Yeah.
Let's go and take another quick break. But when we come back, we're going to dive into all things Edison High School and find out some of the best practices that Kiristen uses as an athletic director. So please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We'd like to say thanks to Hometown Ticketing for their support of the podcast. Hometown is the leading digital ticketing provider for schools and colleges. And if you go to hometownticketing.com, they're going to show you how to set up and sell tickets online, not just for athletic events, but for things like school plays and concerts, school dances, even graduation. And here's the best part. Every school gets assigned a dedicated client success manager that's going to provide you hands-on support every step of the way. That's every step of the way. Go to hometownticketing.com for more information. It's digital ticketing that offers more. We also want to say thank you to Snap Raise. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and then been disappointed in the results? Those days are gone. Go to snapraise.com. It's hands down the best online fundraiser out there. We used it at our school with great success. Our coaches loved it. Our parents loved it because it works. Go to snapraise.com. You can check out their other great platforms. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it. Go to snapraise.com. We also want to say thank you to Vital Signs Wall of Fame. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards for all the teams, for all the events, or show off your school's Hall of Fame, go to Vital Signs Wall of Fame and take a look at their interactive touch screen. That's right, touch screen video consoles. It's also a great way to showcase your school's athletic Hall of Fame, brag about your school, and share your school's unique story. The website is vitalsignswalloffame.com. Check them out today.
Hey, Jake, we use Hometown Ticketing. It's been a great success. It's making just the digital ticketing option just very simplistic. The guests, they do a great job in just ordering those tickets online prior to the game, and it's been very helpful. Then the same with Snap Mobile as well. We've had a rep come and talk to our fall coaches during our fall coaches meeting, and they've really taken to that as well. And hopefully we raise a lot of money using Snap.
Well, guys, thanks so much for sharing that. Talking about Hometown. Now, I know some athletic directors are not using online ticketing. I think there might be a misconception that it's going to create more work for them. What has been your experience with online ticketing with Hometown as far as decreasing your workload as an AD?
I think it's been very simplistic. I let my game worker or ticket taker know how to go about scanning the tickets. And I think just once the guests and spectators, families really understand how to go about getting the tickets prior to, it makes it just very quick, especially on just game days where there's a long line of people trying to purchase tickets. Those who already have them, they can kind of just skip to the front and get their ticket scanned, and they can go on in to enter to the game.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've seen the same thing at many different schools. Is the people that are still paying cash for schools that allow that, and that's a great service for them. That line's always longer than the online ticketing. And you mentioned you just started a Snap Raise campaign. Again, you heard me in the commercial. It was great platform. And you mentioned the rep came to the school. Absolutely, the customer service just outstanding. You're going to really enjoy that. For our listeners, we are visiting today with Dr. Kiristen Robinson, certified athletic administrator. She's the director of athletics at Edison High School in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Kiristen, share with our listeners, how you came about to become the AD at Edison, and then also, going to put you on the spot. Going to ask you to share a couple of things that you do at your school that you're particularly proud of, that you would call best practices.
So I am starting my second year at Edison High School. I ended up just in Minnesota in general, because like I said, I'm from Georgia and I've been here for 3 years now. Ended up in Minnesota. I wanted to just try somewhere new, move somewhere new, didn't really know where. And my brother-in-law at the time was in Minnesota because he coached college football at St. Thomas University. And my sister, who is now his wife, she was in Chicago at the time, didn't really want to move, though she had to move because that is her husband. But he wanted us to kind of just have some time to, again, be in the same city, living together. And it was a great fit. So just that's how I got to Minnesota. I started at Venture Academy, which is a charter school. I was there for 2 years. I was the PE coach as well as the athletic director there. And the position at Edison became available. I applied and prayed about it. And God just kind of opened that door for me to step in and be the AD here.
I love to hear the journey and the stops and the circumstances that are all involved. Well, you mentioned that you finishing your first year at Edison. What are maybe some first year reflections? And again, what are some things that you've seen in just your first year that you're saying, hey, these are best practices?
I make sure that I am very transparent with what I can say to coaches and parents. I know some things that I can't mention at the time, but very open, very honest. I try to communicate as best as possible. As far as coaches, I have created a folder for them and it has everything in it. I jokingly, but not so jokingly, tell them like, if you look in this folder, you may not have to come to me. I actually created this folder so you won't have to come to me. If you have to, you have to, but like, please go to the folder first. So I try to just share all that information so that coaches really can get that administrative piece, or at least the things that you only kind of have to do once or at the beginning of the season, get that done early. So all you have to do then is just worry about that technical and tactical piece where you are just coaching. And then obviously we have game cancellations and things like that are kind of out of our control, but just get the main piece done early. I actually had a coach yesterday at our open house come to me and say, hey, Dr. Robinson, I'm kind of older. The computer isn't something that I'm the greatest at. And this is a winter coach. Can we please have a meeting as soon as possible so I can get all that stuff done early? And I wanted to hug him. Like, I was so glad that he said that. So I think I have done a decent job at least figuring out what I did not know, and there'll still be more. But the things that I don't know, but then figure out later along the line, I literally open up the slide and that folder that I have provided for those coaches, and I add it right in there, just to make sure that as I'm learning and growing, they're getting all that information as quickly as possible as well. I also send out weekly emails. This is every Sunday or Monday with all updates, everything that they would know at least for that week. So everyone's just informed. So that's what, try to keep us all on the same page in that aspect.
Oh, I love the idea of the folder. And again, it's not to discourage them from coming to see you, but to give them, to use a phrase, some tools in their toolbox.
Yeah.
Edison High School, I mentioned this, I think at the top, I think it's one of the oldest schools in the state. What are some things from a tradition standpoint? We never want to be stagnant and stay in the same place, but what are some long-standing traditions at Edison that you have seen that you can share with our listeners? Because I think there's just some really cool traditions across the country at different high schools. What's something that sticks out for you so far?
We have to think about that. I'm in year 2. I'm learning. I would say just for sure the boys soccer team, we have a very strong team, definitely trying to continue to grow that. I know there have been, and this is what I've kind of been told, there have been years where, let's say like wrestling was great and on top winning state, and then it kind of like fluctuates. So we've had just some ups and downs of just competitiveness. But I would just say overall, we have a very strong community. We have a lot of alumni who very much love Edison, really pour into our program, our department, and I'm very much blessed for that. And I know we're just going to continue to grow. And as I kind of add my little whatever twang to it, I always make sure to consider the past and things that have been working. I actually was told by my middle school coach before we got into a game, it was always off the bench. It was maintain or do better. Meaning if it's going well, keep it going that way. But if you're going to change something, it needs to be better and make a change for the positive for the situation. So that's kind of the mindset that I use.
Okay. No, I love that. This just popped into my head, so I'm sorry about the ambush question. What is the state of NIL from your perspective in Minnesota? Has the association come out with a policy? Do you have kids that you're aware of at your school that are have NIL deals? What's going on with NIL from your world?
I think that it's something very much still new in Minnesota or MPS, Minneapolis Public Schools. I think it's something that we're for sure talking about. Just want to make sure that we have an understanding or an idea of how we are going to go about tackling that or implementing that within our schools. But as of right now, Edison, we right now don't have the NIL deals going, but we will get there.
That's right. No, and that's okay. I just talked to an athletic director literally yesterday, and they have an outstanding girl wrestler that already has an NIL deal, pretty lucrative one too. So you just never know how they're going to pop up. Let's go and take another quick break. One more time, our guest today is Dr. Kiristen Robinson, Certified Athletic Administrator and the Director of Athletics at Edison High School in Minneapolis, Minnesota. We're coming back with more, so please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. You can schedule a live web demo to see their score tables and their score boards in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Of course, we use it for home games, but we also use it for pep rallies, for signing ceremonies. Their products are tremendously versatile, and their customer service is just outstanding. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule that live web demo today. We want to say thanks to our friends at Home Campus. Home Campus is a platform that you're going to use every single day. Things like scheduling, uploading rosters and scores, communication. How about student athlete eligibility and clearance? Who doesn't do that every day? Home Campus does all of these things and more, does them better, does them faster than other platforms. And all you have to do to get started is go to homecampus.com. That's it, homecampus.com. We'd like to say thanks to the Ohio University Online Masters in Athletic Administration. Now, I didn't get my master's from Ohio University, but my assistant athletic director did, along with thousands of other people. And it was a great experience. It's reasonably priced, only 20 months, totally online. And while you're earning your master's, Ohio University also includes 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. To get started or to find out more, just go to ohio.edu/info/MAA, the Ohio University Online Masters. Welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. Kiristen, we talked a little bit about, you'd earned your CAA and some CMAA options, but talking about the journey, can you share how did you first get involved, at the state level with your state association? How'd you hear about the NIAAA? Certainly, we want to hear about your experience taking those LTI courses. Can you share a little bit of that part of your journey?
Yes. So I was made aware of the NIAAA, so the national level, as a prior to the state level. I this when I was at Venture Academy, I took the I guess the first two courses. This is to get my RAA. So I took those online, and I didn't really know anything about the conference just yet. But in Venture is a like a charter school, smaller, athletics was smaller. So I didn't really have the network or resources to kind of know at that time what all those things were about. But I will say Brett McNeil, who was the past AD at Edison prior to me, he reached out to me, and he very much just said, hey, you need to get involved with the NIAAA. You need to make sure that you're taking these courses and making sure that you're going to the conferences and things like that. So I definitely was at last year's conference, which was in Orlando, and some other mentors within this district, the Minneapolis public school system. Lisa Montgomery, who was the assistant district AD last year, as well as Anthony Fisher, who is now the district AD for the Minneapolis public school. They all just served just as great mentors. I was there. I was able to rub some elbows with other ADs who, at that time when I was going there, I was kind of just going through a lot just within the position, and I was feeling down and thinking that I was the only one feeling that way. But I left there like, oh, this happens to everybody. So, okay, this is how I handle this. And I learned so much more that I could apply to that second half of the year as well, since the conference is in December. And then in March, I did attend our first Minnesota State conference as well. It was in St. Cloud. I actually served as a presenter for the keynote speaker. So that was cool. Met a lot of people there as well. And it was just a great experience. Both of those conferences, I left, and I always call my mom. I call my mom and I'm like, there are people doing what I do, and they know what I'm doing, and they can help me. And there's a way to get certified and get this. I'm very much education oriented. Like if I can get the things and put things behind my name, I love that. So it's been a great experience, and I'm just going to continue to grow. I have already registered for Austin this December. Very excited to be there, meet new people, grow connections, and all those things.
Well, boy, that's the exact type of path that we want all of our athletic administrators to take. Get involved, attend the conference, go to the workshops and take the LTIs, but then, again, volunteer to, introduce a speaker, and then that's just going to lead to your own presentations. You mentioned a couple of names there. We've got more connections, you and I. Lisa Montgomery, great friend from her Florida days. She was actually one of the contributors to our book, All-Star Athletic Director, where we featured 10 great Florida women athletic directors. And Tony Fisher, a longtime AD in Florida. I know he's from Minnesota originally, was on our FIAAA board, as was Lisa. So, wow, you and we've got all these connections here. Okay.
Oh,
And we're
yes.
definitely, speaking of connections, let's definitely make sure that we connect at least to say hi down in Austin this year.
Definitely, definitely.
All right, looking back to so far your LTI courses through the NIAAA, can you think of one? Oh, and before I get to that, you mentioned the national conference. There's an expression we use for first timers. It's like trying to drink from the fire hose. I think you were describing that experience very well. Going back to the LTIs, can you think of one course that you have taken so far, maybe two, that it was either, oh my goodness, this is great stuff, I got to bring it back for our coaches, or, oh my gosh, we're not doing this, I definitely have to make sure we start doing this at our school? Any of those types of experiences you can share?
Yes, for sure. And I am not good with course names, but I did take one. Nope, I don't even want to try to.
That's okay. None of us are good with the course numbers.
There was a discussion about just community service, and I mean that just blew my mind, because I'm first year. I'm just thinking, get the schedules right, make sure the kids are registered, make sure we have games, make sure we have buses, and that just kind of went over my head. I'm like, I'm all about community service. I for sure want to make sure that I'm making that a major part of our athletic department. So there was something made mention about that. And then also, and that was in Orlando, a course that I took. And then there was an online course that I took, and it was that general supervision that was mentioned heavily. And they were talking about just lawsuits and things like scary things. But I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, things do happen in the locker room, and we need to make sure that we are providing that supervision. So just I added all of that to the slides that I presented to my coaches just to reiterate how important that was, or is, because you assume that people kind of know or they're doing the thing, but you don't know if you don't know, and you just want to make sure that they are. So just always reiterating that.
Oh no, absolutely. I remember that class. I don't remember the name of it. I don't remember the number, but I remember that focus on community service. Um, you mentioned that you're registered for Austin. Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot, and I'm going to have to look this up in my book real quick. I don't even know the course that I'm signed up to take. I think it's 718. What courses are you taking in Austin off the top of your head?
Um, I am registered for an elective course, and these are all things to help me to attain that next step of a CMAA. I think it's like a, gosh, 900 level course for sure. And then there's two others. I don't know the names of them. I don't know
Uh,
them.
well, I'm taking 718 on Sunday. It's
Okay.
one of the newer courses. Again, I have no idea what the title is, but I'm going, wow, that sounds pretty cool. And then I'm also going to be teaching the one of the middle school courses, probably 701, which is on Saturday afternoon. So for our listeners, if you want to take a course with me, 718 on Sunday or 701 on Saturday. But just make sure you sign up for your coursework for Austin. Hmm? Um, let's I know you and I talked about this a little bit. As you look ahead, have you considered what you might want to do for your CMAA project? I know you and I talked a little bit off camera, but any ideas percolating at this time?
So I have been talking with Lisa Montgomery. She's very much friend, mentor, all the things. And she it was kind of privy to, or at least I definitely shared my dissertation presentation, the virtual video with her, and she was like, "You probably should definitely use that as that CMAA project, and just kind of tweak it as needed for that application." So I'm leaning towards that. I mean, it's already done and completed, and I've won. Don't work smarter and not harder. So that'll probably be the one that I utilize. Just kind of look at the application and see the requirements for that.
Oh no, and for our listeners, Kirsten and I already talked about this. Wherever you're at on your journey with the NIAAA certification, as you get ready to plan your CMA project, I guarantee that you're already doing something at your school. Maybe it's with students or parents or coaches or facilities or anything. You're doing something that would make a great CMA project. And you can do it the old school way, like I did, which I really enjoyed, writing out my project and submitting it. But I'm a big fan of the oral presentation. Basically, you're going to take your project and turn it into a 20, 22, maybe 25 slide presentation and tell the story of your project. Takes about 30 minutes. The who, the what, the when, the where, the why, and the how of what you are trying to share. And again, you have a state certification coordinator. Every state has one. If you have questions, reach out to your certification coordinator at your state, and feel free to reach out to me. As I shared with Kirsten, I was on the National Certification Committee for years. I was the Florida Certification Coordinator for many years before I retired, but I still help ADs out with their CMA projects. So you're doing something. Don't try to invent something, wild and crazy. You're already doing something that would make a great project. Kirsten, this has just been so cool spending some time with you, hearing about your journey and your school, and finding out all the connections that you I have, but we're not done yet. We always wrap up with the athletic director's toolbox. Now, you're certainly no stranger to the world of athletics, but we're going to take our final break here from Athletic Surveys. And when we come back, I'm going to challenge you to send out a brand new athletic director on their very first job, but I'm only going to let you put 3 items in the toolbox. So let's take that break. And when we come back, we're going to see what Dr. Kiristen Robinson puts in her new athletic director toolbox. We'd like to thank Athletic Surveys for sponsoring the AD Toolbox segment of the podcast. You know, athletic directors already get feedback, but a lot of times it's from a very small group that only wants to complain. Athletic Surveys will connect you to that group, but they're also going to connect you to the 98% of your stakeholders that support your program. And that information is incredibly valuable, especially when you're meeting with a frustrated parent or maybe your principal or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. Well, it's that time of the podcast. We've been visiting today with Dr. Kiristen Robinson from Edison High School in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Has an incredible background in athletics, but right now I'm going to task her with sending out a brand new athletic director on their very first job, but I'm only going to let her put 3 things in the toolbox. So, Dr. Robinson, what 3 items are going to go into your new athletic director toolbox?
Okay, I got it down to exactly 3. I would start with just providing that new AD with a list of contacts. It would just include people who have helped me out. Some just me calling and venting. Some I'm calling because I literally need a direct answer, like, what did you do in the past? How would you handle this? So just a list of just contacts of people who are ready and willing to help, and that you can call and reach out to, so you don't feel alone in the situation, because more than likely whatever they are experiencing, someone on that list that I would provide have experienced that or something like it, and they can just give some advice and some help. I would then provide them with just some positive quotes and just some inspirational just quotes and words that can kind of just help them just get through the day, get through the week, get through the month, season, and just kind of help them to know that you got this. I definitely, every morning, I get into my space, get to my parking lot, and I open my Bible and I read a chapter in my Bible. I also have just a list of just devotionals. I read those as well. So I would provide that to the individual as well. And then lastly, just a map of their school. When I first got to Edison, I was very confused as to where everything was. There is a tunnel that leads from the academic building to the athletics building. And it is a big circle, and it when you hear it, people will tell you like it'll be easy when you find it, but it took a minute. So to have that map, that would have been helpful, just to know where everything kind of is. So that is what I would provide to a new AD, just in their toolbox.
I'm writing all these down, and I'll have to go back and check later in my archives here. The idea of a map for everyone, it's so obvious, so important, and yet I think you might have just added a unique answer. We've had well over 2,000 answers to that question in the 4 years that we've done the podcast. And I think we have a total, I want to say something like maybe 14 or 15 original unique answers. So you may have just added another one, but it's so important. The other one, the networking, the contact list. It's one of the things that I tell ADs. It's one of the most important things you can do. Don't wait until like I did, to way late in my career to start building that network. Do it right out of the chute. And again, the inspirational quotes, sometimes we need a little bit of inspiring. Great tools. Thanks so much for sharing. Um, Once more, if one of our listeners wanted to add you to their network or just pick your brain a little bit about how you do things, what's the best way someone can get a hold of Dr. Kiristen Robinson?
Okay, I thought about some other ways to get in contact with me too. So via email, it's robinsonKirsten@gmail.com. And then I'm also on LinkedIn, and that's just, you type in Kirsten Robinson, that should pop up. And then possibly Facebook, you can type in Kirsten Robinson as well.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to have to friend you on Facebook then. Kirsten, thanks again for taking some time out of your busy schedule to share with our listeners. All the best moving forward this fall. And we are definitely going to connect in Austin.
Definitely. Thank you, Jake, for this opportunity. I appreciate it.
Oh, well, we appreciate you. We also appreciate our listeners. And just a reminder to our listeners, we upload the Zoom recordings of all of our interviews to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do this just about every day, sharing stories and best practices. So hopefully you'll come back and join us again for another episode of the Educational AD Podcast.